Welcome. All right, so what do you need to know to solve a quadratic by the quadratic formula? And there's a couple different things that we're going to need to know to make sure in advance. And I think the first one is obviously knowing the quadratic formula. And I go through where the quadratic formula comes from. Some of you might care, some of you might not care. But the main important thing is we at least know, well, even actually before we get to the quadratic formula, what a quadratic equation represents. So y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, right? There's the quadratic equation. And if we want to solve the quadratic formula, well, remember when we were solving quadratics, we were solving by factoring or completing the square, and we set it equal to 0. But what we were doing was we were solving for x. So the quadratic formula is a way for us to still solve for x. So x equals, but by applying a formula that we can use to find those values without having to factor or complete the square. So x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. All right? So that's the quadratic formula, and that's the main thing I would say that you need to know. The couple other things I would say you need to know is, one, what the discriminant is. And what the discriminant is going to be is b squared minus 4 times a times c. And you can see that is just under our quadratic. So by solving the quadratic formula, one thing, by using the discriminant, what you need to know is what are the different types of solutions of a quadratic equation? Well, a quadratic equation can touch the x-axis once. It can touch it twice. And there's also a possibility that the quadratic equation cannot touch our x-axis at all. All right? So when we're applying the discriminant, we're going to get into a lot more of this, of determining our solutions. But the main thing I want you to understand is a quadratic can touch it once, which would be one solution. It can touch it twice, which would be 2 solutions, or it cannot touch it at all, which would be 3 solutions. And we're going to use our discriminant to help us be able to identify that. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are pretty much the main 3 things that you're going to want to know when we get into solving a quadratic by using the quadratic formula. And I hope you are excited as I am to go ahead and get started. Thanks.